Hi guys, you're all welcome back to my channel. My name is Eunice. You can also call me Moyolua. So in this video, we'll be learning how to make this beautiful top with an asymmetric neckline and hem. So the picture in the middle is the inspiration for this top, and the two videos by the sides are the outcome of this tutorial. So if this is what you're interested in, you might want to stay to the end of this video, and please do not forget to subscribe to my channel if you have not done so, and please give this video a thumbs up. So here I have 1.5 yard of plain crepe fabric. You might want to have up to 2 yards if you are on the bigger side, because I really manage this 1.5 yard. So I have drafted out a basic bodice pattern. So for the sake of those that doesn't know how to draft a basic pattern, I'm going to explain everything on this front and back pattern. So this is the blouse length. So the back pattern and the blouse length of the front is the same length, as you can see. So you make sure it is the same length, just that I added an extension for that front asymmetric design for the front. So the neck width is 3.5 inches, and the depth I used 3 inches. So this is the bust point line, this is the waistline, and this is the blouse length. So the length, my blouse length is 24 inches, and then I added 10 inches for the extension, and this is our dart intake. So it is this front pattern we're going to be making use of to form our slash and spread and everything. We're going to be manipulating the front pattern. So as you can see, the front and the back pattern, the blouse length is the same. The back neck depth is 2 inches, and I added 1.5 inch zipper allowance, and then at the waistline I went in by 0.75 inches, and then I cut it out in a slant manner, upwards and downwards. I always do this to avoid zip bulge at the back. So this is our dart intake. I added 1 inch for dart intake allowance, and then I added 1.5 inches for the sewing allowance on everything. So for the front pattern as well, I added 1.5 inches for sewing allowance at the hem, at the waist as well. And for the dart intake, I didn't add any allowance because we are not making use of the dart for the front. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to extend this bust span line. That's our nipple to nipple divided by 2 measurement. So I'm going to extend it to the end of the top, to the end, to the remaining extension. So next I'm going to extend the blouse length line and then the waistline. So I'm going to extend it across to the other parts, like so. So now from the top length, I'm going to come down by 8 inches. So from there, I'm going to connect it with a slant line to the original hem of the top. So remember we added 1.5 inch sewing allowance. So I'm going to mark it. So that is where the line is going to be connected. So I'm just going to connect it with my ruler now. So I'm going to cut out that part. So from that point, I'm going to go up by about 4 inches. So that place where I marked is where our front slit is going to start from. So from that point, I'm just going to slant it a bit because our slit is a bit slant if you check the picture very well. So from that point, I'll slant it downwards to the longer part of the top and also to this shorter part. So this part where I'm marking now, I'm going to cut on that line. So now we want to draft the smaller curved parts by the side. So remember we added 1.5 inch sewing allowance. So I went in by that 1.5 inch. So from that point, I'm going to use my free hands to draw an arc or a curve. So I'm going to connect it to the dart intake line. And then I'm going to cut it out. Please pay close attention to how I am cutting it so you won't make any mistake. So I'm going to cut out the dart intake part. Remember I told you we are not going to be using or making use of it. So we are marking that 4 inches we went up by. So we won't make any mistake on the fabric when joining it. So now we're going to draft the neckline. So from that point, I'm going to come down by about 6 inches. I came down by 6 inches. So I'm going to draw a straight line like so. Make sure your hand is straight, and then I used my ruler to draw the straight line. So after that, I'm going to use my French curve. If you don't have one, you should be able to use your free hands as well to connect the curve of the neckline, as you can see me doing. So if you want your neckline to be wider, I use 3.5 as the width. You can use more than that to make the neck wider, but for me this is okay. So I'm going to cut it out now. So remember that part of the neckline is attached. If you check the inspiration very well. So if you want yours like that as well, I just went ahead to rule a straight line, and then I'm going to cut out that part. Or if you don't want it attached, you can just leave it like that. So I labeled it so I won't mix it up on the fabric. So this is all for the front pattern. So it is this front pattern I will slash and spread on my fabric. So let's go on. So I'm gonna ahead to draft my basic long sleeve as well. So if you don't know how to draft a basic long sleeve, I'll drop the link to the video in the description box so I don't to waste our time. So let's go on. So now we're going to go ahead and do our slash and spread on the front pattern. So I'm just going to use my ruler to draw a straight line, as you can see me doing. I'm just going to draw them across. So this is where the sleeve will start from. So I'm just going to slash everything across like so. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. I won't cut it to the extreme end, as you can see me doing. So we're just going to cut it and stop at the edges of the side. So be careful not to cut it through. So we're going to place this pattern on our fabric. The fabric is not going to be unfolded. So I just placed it on the wrong side of my fabric like so. So we're going to spread it like so. So the space in between is just about 0.75 inch. It's not really up to 1 inch. If you want your pleats to be much or gathers, then you can make it about 1 inch. But I don't want the pleats or gathers to be too much at all. So I'm going to secure the paper in place with my pin all through like this. So at this side, I'm going to add 1 inch allowance because we're going to fold that place in to sew it. So I need enough allowance to be able to fold it twice and sew. So at this curved area, I'm going to add 1 inch allowance. So I'm just going to trace it out now with my 1 inch allowance. So remember to mark that point where our slit will start from. Do not forget. So it will be easy when joining it. So at the shoulder area as well, I'm going to add half an inch sewing allowance. So the armhole area does not need any allowance. So the neck area, I'm also going to add half an inch sewing allowance. So remember we've added 1.5 inch sewing allowance to the sides already, so we don't need to add any allowance to the side. So at the hem I added 1 inch allowance as well, so I'm just going to cut it out now, as you can see me doing. So for this smaller side part of the front, I've added 1 inch allowance all around, as you can see, and I'm gonna need to mark that place where the slit will start from. Do not forget, and remember there is already sewing allowance on the pattern paper. So now I'm just going to go ahead and cut it out. So for the shoulder area, the one we cut out, so I've placed my fabric on fold, so I'm adding half-inch allowance at the upper part and at the lower part, and also on both sides I'm going to be adding half-inch sewing allowance, as you can see me doing. The armhole does not need any allowance, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it out now. For the back pattern, I'm going to cut it out on my fabric. I added 1 inch sewing allowance to the hem, half inch to the shoulder and the neck area. So there is already allowance for the zipper, and the sewing allowance is there already. So I went ahead to cut out my facing for the neck area, as you can see. So I'm going to use the facing to turn the neck. So for the sleeve as well, I've gone ahead to cut it out on my fabric. So this is the front pattern. This is what the front pattern looks like. So I've also gone ahead to cut out facing for the front neckline. So this is the shoulder. I'm going to show you how to join the shoulder and also attach the facing as well. So this is also the smaller part of the front. As you can see, the place where I marked, they will be together, and then we're going to go ahead and gather that part. So now I'm going to go to the machine now and run a stitch through that place that I'm demonstrating. So I'm going to gather it. I'll run a very loose stitch and gather it. This is it after gathering it. So some people can decide to pleat it instead of gathering it, but gathering it will be neater and better and also easier. So now we're going to attach this bigger part to the smaller part of the front. So as you can see, it is forming the style already. So we're going to place it right side facing right side. Remember to place the marked places together. That's where you will start sewing from. That's where the slit will start from, and that's where the joining will stop. So we are going to head over to the machine now to join from that marked point by 1 inch. Do not forget, we added 1 inch allowance. So we're going to sew it all around. We're going to join it together with 1 inch all around. So stitching the slit area is the main reason why our allowance is up to 1 inch. So I'll be able to fold it twice and sew it neatly. That's why the allowance is 1 inch. So this is what our top is looking like after joining both pieces together. So this shoulder that we're going to join, I'm going to have to join it together at the neck area. So we're going to join it to the main front piece. So we're going to place it right side like so, right side facing right side. So you can go ahead and use your pin to hold it down so it won't move. So make sure it is held firmly with the pin. So now we're going to go ahead and place the facing also on the right side. We're going to place it on it like this. So make sure your facing is placed correctly so you won't make any mistake. So I'm going to head over to the machine now and stitch down that part. So this is what it is looking like. I'm going to notch it, so you can go ahead and flip your facing to the back like this and bring the shoulder up. As you can see, it is giving our neckline shape already. So our top is also giving the style already. So as you can see, the pleat or the gather is not too much. So this is the back pattern. I'm going to cut open the dart intake area. The reason why I'm doing this is to make sewing the dart intake very easy. So I'm going to trace out the part where I cut out. As you can see me doing, I'm going to trace it out with my chalk and then replace that straight line so it will be easy. Okay, so I'm going to remove all the pins now. So as you can see the mark, so sewing the dart intake will be very easy like that. So for the other part of the back as well, I'm also going to trace out the place that I cut out. This is the second piece of the back as well. So I've traced it out for both pieces of the back. So the next thing I want to do now is to sew the facing for the neckline. So I'm going to place my facing on the right side and then I'm going to stitch that neckline area. After that, I'm going to flip it to the back. Then also the dart intake, I'm going to stitch the dart intake. So I'm going to do the same thing for the second piece of the back as well. So this is what our back pattern looks like after stitching the facing and also stitching the dart intake, as you can see. So the next thing we're going to do is to stitch the shoulder area. We're going to join the shoulder area. So we're going to place the back and the front right side facing right side. As you can see, the sides are equal. So I'm going to open up the shoulder area like so, and then I'm going to place it like so and then fold it. Make sure it is well laid and equal, so it will be very neat. So I'm going to stitch down that part. So I'm going to do the same thing for the second piece of the back. I'm also going to stitch the shoulder area just like I did. You can see the sides are equal as well. So I'm going to stitch the shoulder of the second part as well. So this is what our top is looking like after stitching the shoulder. As you can see, it has been stitched neatly. So the next thing we're going to do is to place the front and the back pattern right side facing right side like so, and then I'm going to stitch the sides. I'm going to join the sides with my allowance, and I'm also going to do the same for the second side. I'm going to stitch the second side as well. So this is what our top is looking like after stitching both sides, as you can see. So we're going to go ahead and stitch the slit line. So I'm going to fold it twice like so for both slits, and then I'm going to stitch it down to secure the edges, the rough edges. And then after that, I'm also going to stitch the hem. You can decide to open up the sides a bit to stitch the hem, or you can just stitch it straight, anyhow you know how to do it. But I'm going to stitch the hem. I'm going to open up the sides. Then after stitching all the hem, I'm going to join the sides back together. So this is what our top is looking like. I've stitched the hem neatly and the slit area neatly, as you can see at the back as well. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to attach my zipper. So I'm going to go and stitch my zipper. Okay, our top is almost ready. As you can see, I've gone ahead to stitch the zipper very neatly. And if you don't know how to stitch a zipper neatly like this, you can let me know in the comment section. So the next thing we want to do is to fix our sleeve. So we're going to open up our sleeve like so. So the first thing we're going to do is to stitch the hem of the sleeve. After that, I'm also going to stitch the sides as well. So I'm going to do that for both sleeves. So these are my sleeves after stitching the hem and the sides. So now I'm going to join my sleeve to the top. So we're going to take the notched part, and then we're going to open up the shoulder and then place the notched part to the shoulder of the top like so. You can use your pin to hold it down, and then I'm going to go ahead and stitch it all around till the armhole area, and then the other side as well. I'm going to stitch it all around, and then I'm also going to do the same for the second sleeve. So that's how to join the sleeve. So this is what our top is looking like after joining the sleeve. As you can see, the top is almost ready because we are still going to do all the finishing to make it very neat. So finishings like the inside, the facing of the front and the back, you can go ahead and use your hemming gum to secure it down, and then the joining area, the sleeves, the zipper area, everywhere that is rough, you can go ahead and weave it. So all this is just to make it very neat on the inside as well. As you can see on the inside, I notched the sides where I joined it at the side, because if you don't do this, the sides might be looking funny and squeezing somehow, so you have to notch it. So that is all for this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching to the end. So see you guys in my next